Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the BeyondTheMic.com star line by director, co-writer, and co-producer of the new documentary film, Foosballers, Joe Heslinger. Joe, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Let's go Beyond the Mic. What was your thoughts on bringing Foosballers from the 70s to today?
So we had no idea that pro foosball existed. We were talking about obscure sports and how it seems like, they have cornhole on TV. There's probably a professional version of any game you can think of. So we Googled professional foosball, and all of a sudden, all these pages came up with all these different videos of people playing foosball here in the States and also in Europe. And we were just blown away that not only does this exist, but it's popular. And then we found out that in the 70s, they had a $1 million pro tour, and it was, a hugely popular sport. And we just thought, man, this would be a great movie. Nobody knows about this. Like, we somehow uncovered this American treasure, this hidden sport that nobody really knew about.
Talk to me about the team that worked with you on bringing this project to life.
Yeah, so I directed it, wrote, produced, and edited. And then we have my co-producer and another writer. His name is Mike Wagstaff. We met actually our first jobs out in L.A. We were both working as assistants for David Zucker, the guy that did Airplane. So I met him, about 10 years ago, and our DP, his name's Logan Kasha, and he shoots a lot of stuff for ESPN. He does like a lot of the E60s, and he's a brilliant cinematographer, and we saw what he could do with sports, and we thought, hey, that would be really cool to do. Give this, what sounds like a silly documentary, but give it, the proper, sports documentary feel, make it feel like a 30 for 30, something that, has a lot of, substance to it, not just something silly.
You have experience with sports, producing with Fearless with Tim Ferriss and Undeniable with Joe Buck. How has that past story producing helped you with Foosballers?
Well, really, it was, working with Joe Buck on the show, Undeniable. He would interview these super prolific athletes, Wayne Gretzky, A-Rod, Abby Wambach. So I was able to while I was researching, and I would, we would come up with their life story and try to figure out what were the battles that they had, both personally and professionally. And it really set that mindset of getting underneath someone's motivation to, win a world championship or conquer, that one thing that's left to conquer in their bucket list of their career. So I was able to take that and apply it to foosball. So when you watch the movie, there's a lot of comedy in it. It's a fun movie, but there's also it's a sports movie. It's a documentary about people who are deeply passionate about their sport, which just happens to be foosball.
Now, in the 1970s, there was actually $1 million Foosballer Pro Tour, right?
Yeah. People could win, $10,000, $15,000 in a given weekend playing foosball. You could win sports cars, Corvettes, Porsches, and there were kids in high school who were dropping out of high school to go join the Pro Tour, and they would make a living, and they made good money. And they did that, throughout the 70s.
In Foosballers, you highlight a retired cop from Alabama, a backup dancer from Marky Mark, and a Cannabis Cup award-winning marijuana grower.
Yeah.
Where did you find these people?
They're all insanely good at foosball, and we would just go through the rankings at these different tournaments, and then we would Google people. So as we started to Google everybody, we came up with this list of people that we thought were interesting, and also that were hopefully going to win. We've followed 6 of the best players in the world, and we wanted to kind of hedge our bets, hoping that one of them would win. So, we did pick the top players, but also ones that had interesting backgrounds and really great personalities too. There's another guy, Robert Mares, who, his entire basement has become a shrine to Kiss and foosball. So you walk down there and it's like, floor to ceiling posters and foosball trophies, and it's like his domain. So they were all like really fascinating individuals who just happen to be, really good at foosball.
You are a writer and part of the team for F is for Family. Now, how has your comedic past helped you make Foosballers not so serious.
Yeah, well, I think, Evans for Family, there's a lot of comedy. It also takes place in the 70s, so there was kind of that going for us. But always when we were shooting, looking at things that were not just interesting from, an emotional standpoint, but things that were like a little bit off-center, a little bit quirky, that made us laugh. Anytime we were filming and we'd be in the van on the way back to the hotel and we were joking around about what we shot that day, that was the stuff that usually made it into the movie. All those funny moments that weren't scripted, they were just happened naturally in the course of filming. We knew they were funny, and if they made us laugh, we assumed that, other people were going to laugh too.
Foosballers has won so many awards on the film festival circuit. Now, when you first launched the Kickstarter to create this film, did you really think you had an award winner?
I don't think anybody, awards are cool, but you don't really make movies to get awards or anything. You just want to make the best movie you can, right? So we knew that we had a great idea for a documentary. We knew that the people we found were really interesting. We knew that the world was really interesting. But it has been kind of surprising, the outpouring of people who don't even like foosball, how much they love the movie, and they just got drawn into the world because of the characters and because of the, some of the comedy, but also the drama. They just got sucked in. So yeah, it's been a fun experience.
We're talking with Joe Heslinger, director, man wearing many hats of the award-winning film Foosballers, joins us beyond the mic. Did you have any moments during directing Foosballers when you pivoted in a completely different direction from when you first started the project?
Yeah, a bunch. There were a couple people we initially wanted to have be prominently featured in the movie, didn't end up playing at the World Championship. So we had Kelsey Cook, who's a stand-up comedian. She was, going to be a part of the ensemble that we followed to the World Championships, but, she's a touring comedian. That's her day job. She's a pro foosball player, but that's not her bread and butter. So, we had to adjust. She's definitely a big part of the movie, and her mom, who is in the Hall of Fame and wrote the World Table Soccer Almanac, she's in the movie too. But trying to figure out, how to include everybody's story into the, bigger part of the movie. That was a challenge for sure.
Was there a part of filming when you went, gosh, I got to make sure that makes it into the final cut?
Probably, in the movie, Todd Lafredo, who's been a pro foosball player for, almost 40 years. He's talking about when he was a kid, his lady was a foosball table. He would think, that song by the Styx, The Lady.
Yep.
He said, anytime I would hear that song, I would imagine myself up there in the spotlight with a foosball table. It was the funniest, weirdest thing, but it was also the most genuine thing that he could have ever said. And it's just a really funny moment in the movie, but also a very real moment. You get a sense for how passionate these people are about foosball. It's not just a game, it's their life. It's what they do. It's what they, breathe. They live and die for foosball.
When I was in college, I was on the fencing team, and I went to a competition in Austin. In the final bracket, matched up with the United States Olympic pentathlete. He spent the first half of the match training me, the second half wiping the floor with me. Did you try to play these guys, and was there a point where they said, playtime's over, and then boom, 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 you're done?
Yeah, so, we would absolutely try to learn a little bit from each of these guys, but you have to understand, a pro foosball player is 1,000 times better than any tournament player, and a tournament player is 1,000 times better than any recreational player, a beginner player, which is what we were. So they would try to teach us, but they have such control over the table of all the different rods when they're handling the ball and passing and stuff, that they can try to teach you for hours. But in order to even go a tick up in your skill level, you have to put in, dozens more hours on your own to practice. It's like if an NHL player took anybody off the street and said, all right, I'm going to teach you how to play hockey. It's like, well, they can't even skate. You got to learn how to skate first, and then you get the stick, and then you can learn how to stick handle, and then you can learn how to shoot. But all that stuff just takes years and years of practice. So as silly as it is, to be a pro foosball player, you have to put in years of practice.
Which moment did you leave on the cutting room floor and you wish you had back in the film?
Yeah, there. Like I said, we had an original cast that we wanted to film with and follow, and one of the other player that we wanted to have included in that was Tommy Atkinson from Oklahoma. He's a world champion foosball player. He was also a junior Olympic wrestler. He won the Junior Olympics in wrestling, and he had a really, really fascinating story. He grew up in Oklahoma and kind of got his start hustling people at game rooms, and he had a bit of a rough upbringing, and foosball was kind of a big part of that, and it was a really emotional story, a really cool sports story, but because he didn't play in the World Championships that year, it felt like a weird sidestep for the movie. So we ultimately had to cut that part of it out, but he still has a big part of the movie too.
Time's running out, so it's time for the Rocking 8. It is the first thing that comes to your mind. No pressure.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Favorite place to relax?
Couch.
Favorite sport you played growing up?
I'm going to go with foosball. Now it is, but otherwise hockey, probably.
Last person who made you laugh?
Todd Lafredo in the movie.
Favorite film that isn't yours?
Caddyshack.
You could change one mistake from your life. What would it be?
Nothing. I don't know. Then is that like the butterfly effect, right? You change one thing and, your whole life might be different. So, I don't know, nothing.
Last family member you talked to?
My wife.
What's the next project you're going to work on?
Man, the next project is going to be a vacation, I think. Maybe take a couple of days off. We worked on this thing, day and night for a couple of years. So maybe take a little break, and then, hopefully Evis for Family will come back for another season. But yeah, aside from that, I'm not sure.
Where's your favorite place to go on vacation?
Hawaii, for sure.
And how do people watch the film?
iTunes or Vimeo on demand. You can go our website. We have links to both, and you can rent it or buy it on both sites.
He likes to relax on the couch, loves Caddyshack, and found the cast of his film via Google. Director, co-writer, and co-producer of the new film Foosballers, Joe Heslinger, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And that, my friends, is Beyond the Mic.